Okay, I hope you were able to take a rest. I got a drink and did a little stretch. Hopefully my voice will still sustain me through the rest of this video. So we're picking up on page 5, so we still have a ways to go, but this is the start of the standard writing program's policies. So these are not policies that I have put in place at all. These are department policies that are kind of set in stone. So hopefully you don't think that I'm being super mean. This comes from the top, and all writing classes have these policies. So if you're like, oh, she's mean, I want to be in a class where I don't have to go. All writing programs, classes have the same attendance policy. So just throwing that out there. It's not because I'm mean, it's because I like my job and I want to keep it. So, attendance. Obviously, we are an online class, so we're not meeting in person, but it is important that you are spending time doing your coursework and demonstrating that you are doing it. So in order to be an accredited university, students have to spend so many hours in a course. So that's harder to do online, it's harder to track, but I do need something to track your participation, to track that you are checking in weekly, to check that you are doing your assignments and spending the hours required in the course. So to do that, I do the response assignments. So the policy is that you only have 2 weeks worth of absences. So that equates to 2 missed responses. Sometimes we will have a different type of participation assignment, perhaps a worksheet or a paper or something like that. Basically, if it's a participation assignment like a worksheet or a response, you need to make sure that you do those on time, as those do count for your participation, for your attendance. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know, but we'll go over that a little bit more when we get to the course schedule. If you miss 2 weekly responses, or if you miss a weekly response and then later you miss turning in a worksheet, then those were your 2, and if you miss any more for any reason, you're going to fail the course. I will try to keep you pretty up to date on if you are in danger of failing due to non-attendance. I don't want any surprises or anything like that, so I will try to reach out to you when you've missed 2 and make sure that you're aware of that. Something to note is that weekly responses do count for participation points and attendance. So that might sound kind of harsh that I'm double dipping, but I'm really trying to make the responses worth your time and worth your while. So they're not just, oh, turn it in for attendance. It's something that helps you be successful in the course, helps you earn your grade, and counts as your attendance credit. Technical problems. I mentioned this briefly in the last video, but technical problems are not a valid reason for failing to do a weekly response or failing to submit something. You need to make sure that you are submitting things in time to compensate for a disaster. So if you're submitting at 11:55 on a Friday night and then your wireless router isn't working or your laptop is glitching, you did not allow for the emergency. You need to give yourself time to, borrow a friend's computer or run down to campus and use the campus internet or something like that. Make sure that you're planning ahead to avoid missing a deadline. Okay? If there's something huge like a widespread computer virus or the entire ASU network goes down, that's up to my discretion, and obviously I would be understanding. But unless something crazy happens like a zombie apocalypse, you gotta get your stuff done on time. If you're an athlete, please read this and let me know how I can support you. If there are any religious holidays that will make completing this class difficult, let me know, and maybe we can find a course that won't conflict with anything and things like that. But for an online class, I don't foresee it being a problem, but you can always let me know if you need any accommodations. So for iCourses, you need to make every reasonable attempt to log into Blackboard or touch base with me during the first week. If you let the first week go by and you never log into Blackboard or you never email me, I'm going to assume that you're not in the class and you may be dropped. So keep in mind that I can see on my end of Blackboard when everyone's last login was. So just keep that in mind, that I can see when you're logging in and doing your work. Alright, grading is based on that specific criteria that you saw in the previous video. So make sure that you're referring to that table on course grading so that you know what to expect. Please consider every piece of writing you do for this class to be public property. If there's something that you feel really strongly about and you don't want to listen to anybody else's ideas, then I wouldn't write about it. That doesn't mean that you're not entitled to an opinion, but you need to adopt positions responsibly. And this is not my writing. This is copy and pasted from the department policies. So you can see that this idea of giving a balanced opinion and thinking critically is really important to the department as a whole, not just me. Also keep in mind that because of Title IX and federal law, if you write anything of a personal nature about, a sexual assault or a sexual abuse, self-harm, or violence to others, I do need to report that and get you help. You are more than welcome to write about those topics. I'm very understanding about these sensitive issues, but just keep in mind that if you want to keep that confidential, it would be better if you didn't tell me, because I am required to report. Late writing projects are not accepted, period. And I do not accept papers emailed to me at my email account. You have to submit to Blackboard and you have to make it before the deadline. Okay? But life happens and I try to be understanding, so I do have a late pass. This is like, back to 3rd grade when you'd get a little late pass that you could cut out. This is like a metaphysical late pass. It doesn't actually exist. But you get a late pass once every semester, and you can use it for a final draft of a major project. So, and I'm kind of flexible with that. If you really need it for, if you're gonna fail the class because you missed too many responses and you want to turn in a response late, let me know and ask me about it, and I'm sure we can work something out. But your late pass buys you an extra 48 hours to complete your work. So you get to turn it in late and nothing bad happens to you. You get the same amount of points. But once you've used it, you've used it. Anything else that comes in late will receive a 0. Okay? When you want to use your late pass, simply mark down in the comments box when you submit to Blackboard and say, I'm using my late pass. I usually keep a little tracker of who's used their late pass. It is non-transferable. It's not worth any points, so it doesn't do you any good to save it till the end of the semester and cash it in for extra credit. That doesn't work. It's a use it or lose it kind of situation, just to help you out, when life happens. So, because it does. Bad things happen. Maybe you get sick. Maybe your laptop gets stolen and you need some extra time. And I do understand that. All right. All major assignments need to be turned in order to pass. So if you are thinking, what's a major assignment? That's your rhetorical analysis, factual event, the issues paper. Those 3 biggies have to be submitted in order to pass the class. So let's say you turn in every single major paper late. You're going to get 0s for all of them. And you probably, I don't know, I'd have to look at the point values. I don't think you'll pass, but let's say you do perfect in everything else. I don't know. Now I'm doubting myself. I can't do math. How much are these all worth? Now I want to know. Yeah, you won't pass. You'll get a 50%. No, wait. Oh my gosh, I cannot add. Just kidding. It's a 70%. I'm terrible. I'm not redoing this video, but please don't think I'm an idiot. Okay, so you can't pass anyway, but they need to be submitted. So make sure you're turning things in, make sure you're turning things on time. The other thing is that all writing has to be done for this class. So resubmitting a paper that you did in high school, even though it was super awesome and great and your teacher loved it, that's actually academic dishonesty, and it'll get you a failing grade in the class. If you want to continue a project or a topic that you're really passionate about that you've written on in the past, discuss it with me first. Which brings us to academic honesty. I would encourage you to click on this link and make sure you understand what academic dishonesty or academic integrity is and how to avoid plagiarism. Again, disruptive, violent, or threatening behavior will not be tolerated, and you may be withdrawn from the course if that occurs and continues. Please make sure that you understand the sexual violence and harassment policy, and that you make sure that you are creating a safe environment for you and your peers. If you need to talk with someone and seek support or counseling, I can definitely give you those links and those resources if you need them. If you have a disability, you need to make sure that you go through the Disability Resource Center in order to get the support that you need. I'm happy to make accommodations for you if and only if you are going through the DRC. At the end of the semester, all students in all writing classes are required to submit an e-portfolio. We will be going over this in more depth, but you should know that that's coming up at the end of the semester, and you need to keep all of your papers so that you can put them in the portfolio. And if you have a grade issue, you need to make sure that you have all of your graded work so that you can go through the process and file a claim with a petition with the grievance committee. So, alright, now these are some of my class policies. Required paper format is pretty standard to most writing classes. 1-inch margins, 12-point font, nothing fancy, Times New Roman, double spaced, MLA style guidelines. Alright, submission policy. Again, you can tell that I'm hitting this multiple times. Technical problems are not an excuse to turn something in late. Papers must be submitted in the appropriate format. Incorrect files or corrupt files will not be considered as submitted and may result in a 0 or a failing grade. If you email me a paper rather than submitting it to Blackboard, it will not be considered as submitted, and Blackboard only lets you submit one time. If you want feedback on a rough draft, I am happy to provide that for you. I do have many students, so you need to make sure that you ask me for feedback at least 2 business days in advance. So what you would do is, at least 2 days before the paper is due, send me the completed draft by email and ask specific questions on what you would like help. So, I mean, if you're just like, hey, is this good? That's not going to yield very specific feedback. But if you ask me, is my conclusion strong enough? Am I including an implication in my conclusion? I can give you a lot more detailed feedback. And just please be aware, if you've got that issues paper, that really long paper at the end of the semester, give me as much time as possible to respond to you. You can always bring in your draft to my office hours and get help instantaneously. So that's actually what I would recommend, is that you make use of my office hours, and that way you can get instantaneous feedback. I just realized that he didn't really talk about office hours. We'll go back. There are my office hours. I'm on campus Fridays from 10:15 to 10:45 and from 1:30 to 3. And this is my formal office. Our building may not be completed by the beginning of the semester, so keep watching Blackboard announcements to know where I'm going to be meeting with you and where I'm going to be hanging out during my office hours. I also have online office hours on Thursday, so you can email me and get a quick response because I'll be right in front of my computer. You can Skype with me or, call me on the phone and we can work together on your paper. Okay, back to where we were. Revision policy. It's tough because allowing revisions isn't what happens in the real world. Most classes don't allow you to revise. Your workplace isn't going to allow you to revise. You get one shot. But I also know that sometimes we misunderstand assignments, or sometimes we, have a bad week. So you want to make sure that, I really try to be understanding and flexible, but also fair to all of my students. So I've put this revision policy in place, and I feel that it is fair and flexible. So basically, the revision policy is if you earn a 75% or lower on one of the major papers, you can revise it for a higher grade. You can only revise once during the semester, and some of those projects listed are not available for revision. So the things that are kind of at the end of the semester, you can't revise. So basically, you can revise either your rhetorical analysis, your factual event, or your issues paper if you get a 75% or lower. Okay? If you'd like to revise, you have to do a couple things. You need to turn in your revision 1 week after you received your graded paper, and you must meet with me in person or online prior to revising your paper so that we can discuss the changes that need to be made. If I'm going to take the time and effort to regrade the paper, I want to make sure that you've taken the time and effort to significantly revise it and make changes. So you're going to turn in the original paper along with the revised copy, and you're going to include a brief memo explaining what changes you made and why, and then I'll give you a new grade for your paper after I've reread the revised version. Here are some helpful links for you: the library, counseling, writing center, my teaching philosophy, things like that. One note on the writing center is I am willing to give a nominal amount of extra credit if you go to the writing center. So if you go to the writing center, email me and let me know, and you may find 5 points in your extra credit column. So I would definitely recommend the writing center, even if you think, oh, I'm a good writer, I already know how to do this. I went to the writing center at my university even as a graduate student, so I feel like another set of eyes on your paper is always going to be helpful. As always, I'm here for you. I want you to succeed, especially in an online course. You can feel very, distant and far away from your teacher. I want you to know that I'm here to support you. We're getting near the end. We can do it. So this is about due dates. So as you look at the course schedule, you can see that there is a column called tasks and deliverables. So tasks are the things that I want you to do, and you're going to do that on your own, things like doing your readings, watching videos, things like that. And I would recommend that you complete those before 11:59 p.m. on Fridays. Deliverables are the final drafts of assignments that you're going to submit to Blackboard, and those are due at 11:59 p.m. on Fridays. So basically, everything has to be done on Fridays. Students have commented to me in the past, like, why do you have things due on Fridays? Like, why couldn't we have the weekend to do it? You do have the weekend to do it. You just have to start each week. I would look over everything every Saturday or Sunday and kind of see what's coming. But I find that Friday due dates are the easiest to remember for my students. It's like, it's the end of the week, I have to get my stuff in, I need to make sure I get it done. If anything changes, I will provide you with an updated copy of the course schedule. These dates and activities are subject to change, so if any changes are made, I will tell you as soon as I can, and you want to make sure that you check Blackboard for those updates. A little bit on how the text is used. We're going to use the textbook pretty frequently at the beginning of the semester, but it may not continue throughout the semester. I think we do use it pretty much up until the end, but you may be like, wow, maybe I don't need to get the book. Maybe I only need to borrow it for a little while, or maybe I can do a free trial. I would encourage you to refer to the text throughout the entire semester. I provided kind of a map of what chapters in the book correspond to what we're doing in class, so that can kind of help you go back and review if you need to. This is really important. Do not work ahead. If you want to get this course done early, take a different session. Take the 7.5 week-long session. I might make changes to the course, or might make things easier, or change supplemental materials as the course progresses, and you need to make sure that you're not working, a month ahead of everyone else. If you do the work ahead, even though I'm telling you not to, I'm not going to grade your work early. I'm going to grade your work when all of my other papers from all of my other classes come in, so you'll have to wait for your work to be graded and returned anyway with everyone else. So I just really discourage working ahead. All right. We're so close. We made it. So here is the course schedule. I'm just going to give you a brief breakdown of it. So you can see that starting in week 1, there's a couple things that you need to watch and a couple things that you need to do. So you want to make sure that you get those in right away, and that you are hopefully getting started right on our first day of class. I'm afraid that some people may not tune in to the class until week 2, and you'll already be behind. So hopefully you're watching this during week 1 and getting a head start on everything, and you'll see that this is what's going to be due Friday, August 18th. You'll need to submit those to Blackboard, submit the syllabus quiz and contract to Blackboard, and complete the About Me page. You can see that as we get into week 2, these are your tasks for the week, and you'll have a weekly response that counts for participation points and attendance. Same kind of thing for the next couple weeks. Then as we get to week 5, you'll see that we have a small participation assignment that does count for a small amount of points, and that worksheet will also count as your attendance for that week. Now, final drafts for big assignments, they stand alone. That doesn't really count as your attendance, so don't worry about that. Just make sure you get it in on time, because it's worth a ton of points, and you have to turn in every major assignment in order to pass the course. Right, then we're back to our weekly responses. Here we've got a small participation assignment that will also count as attendance, and so on. You can see as we get to the end here that we do not have a final exam, and you can see that we'll be working on our e-portfolio at the end of the semester. So that is everything you need to know in a nutshell. I do try to link most of the outside links in the course schedule, but not everything is in there, so you want to make sure that you're working off of Blackboard as well, because all of these things are going to be in Blackboard. If you have any questions about the course schedule, please make sure you ask. This is really important. You want to make sure that you are staying up to date with things, that you're not falling behind, that you are using your time wisely, that you start doing your coursework, on the weekends, Saturday or Sunday. Figure out how you're going to break down the workload for the week, because it is a lot. It is a lot. We're not meeting in person, so basically all of the work is on you. But I'm here for you. I want you to succeed. I want you to do well in this course. I want you to have a good experience with online classes. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me by email or by any of the other methods listed in the contact information. And I'm excited to get to know you, and I'm excited to read your writing. So keep in touch. stay on track, and we're going to have a great semester.